Operator overloading. An operator, when we say operator, we're talking about the different symbols that we can use. The plus, minus, slash, asterisk, etc., etc. These are different symbols. These are different operators. Overloading means that you have different methods, different functions, different meanings according to the context. For example, the plus sign, when given to strings, concatenates the strings into one. But when given to integers, it will add those two integers up together, right? So the plus sign has different meaning, depending on what the strings or what the integers, etc. So operator overloading. A magic method is associated with each operator. So we have the operators, so less than, or greater than, not equal to, greater than, equal to, and equal to. And then you can define a method that will work with, that will provide the functionality of the operator. So for binary operators, each method has two arguments and returns an appropriate return value. So I have underscore underscore LT underscore underscore. That's the method that will define the operator less than symbol. In this example here, I'm defining an equals method. So the equals method is underscore underscore EQ underscore underscore. And it will return true if a particular attribute is the same as the parameters attribute. So it's like if I say if X equals Y, the self is X, other is Y. And this is a little clearer if you call the method this way: X dot method name is underscore underscore EQ underscore underscore Y. So other is the Y and X is the self. So these are the same way of calling. So you can use the name function or you can use the operator there. Right? And it returns true. So it's testing to see whether they are the same. It'll return true if they're the same. It'll return false if not. Now, some built-in functions require the operators to be overloaded. So the count method returns the number of elements with the specified value. So it'll go through the list and it'll check to see if something is equal. It calls the equals function. So it's expecting you to define that equals function. So I've created a class called coin, and in it, I just have one attribute, cents. In this example, I have a list of coin values, 10, 10, 5, 5, 25. It's like for 2 dimes, 2 nickels, and a quarter. And I am getting each value, and I'm going to create a new coin object. And I'm adding that coin object to my list of coins. So eventually, it's going to print out. There's going to be a coin with 10 cents, 10 cents, 5, 5, and 25. Now I set my nickel equals to coin 5. And I want to call count to count the number of times that the nickel object where the cents value is 5 will appear. So the count function is expecting me to have an equals equals. Well, it's going to say an error. There are 0 nickels here because I didn't define an equals method. So let's define it. I create a method equals, and I'll say if it'll return true if my cent equals the other's cent object attribute. So 2 coins are equal to, they have the same value for cents. Now adding this method in the class, it will go through and create correctly. There are 2 nickels. So it'll go through and it'll count, it'll recognize those. There are 2 nickels in there. Sorting a list of objects. So sorting a list of objects here, the sorted method requires you to define the less than symbol, the less than operator. So if I just have init, string, and stir and repr methods defined, and I now have the values to be 2/4, 50, half a dollar, and 2 dimes here. I want to sort them, and I should have the dimes appearing after that, but it's going to give me an error. It doesn't say I can't find the less than method. So now I define it. Less than returns true if my cent value is less than the other cent's value. So to go through and compile that, and just by including that one definition here of less than, it goes through and it will sort the value correctly for us. Now, a set of objects, remember, set does not allow duplicate values. So a new object would not be added to the set if there exists an object that is equal, and also a hash code returns the same value. So here you've got to define the equals method and the hash code method in order for the function to work correctly. Okay, so each unique object should have a different integer hash value. So here, the integer value here is going to be the same as the cent value. So I'll define my hash method to just return the cent value. And the equals method returns true if the cents are if the values are the same. So by having both of these methods in here, I then, when I want to add the coins here, it will only add it if it does not already exist in the set. So it will get the unique coins that are in the collection, a 25-cent, 10 cents, and a dollar coin. There are other magic methods that overload operators. So you see the plus, the minus, the asterisk, slash, and a lot of other different ones that's there. You can override the symbols that make sense for your class. For instance, we want to add 2 coin objects. So I want to overload the plus symbol. So I want the plus symbol to work with 2 coin objects. And so I define the add method, and I say it returns the value of cents plus the other cents. So that operator takes 2 cent values, 2 coins, and it gets their cent value, add them together. So for instance, here, I take a coin, a penny, and a nickel, and I have the result, and I'm just returning the integer value. It gives me a 6 with a class int. So it says 6. The value of adding penny and a nickel coin is the integer 6. Now, what if the operators are different type? What if I want to do int plus a coin? Say that I have a or I want to print the sum. The sum method returns the sum of elements in the list. So it returns an integer value. It adds a numeric value, right? So it calls the add function. So coin 1 plus 5 to a nickel, penny of a nickel, give me the integer 6. Now I'm going to do 6 plus a dime, and it give me an error. It doesn't know that how to add the integer. So I need to modify my add method to allow it to include an integer. I can accept a parameter, and if it is an instance of an integer, if other is an instance of an integer, I just add other to the cents. If it's not, I then know that it is a coin object, and I get its attribute, the cents attribute, and add it to my cents. So check to see if other is an int. If other is an int, just add the value to the current cents value. The syntax is you're calling the instance object, is instance method, and it accepts an object and a class that you're going to use to compare. It will return true if the object is the instance of the class. Now, what about if you have the operands in reverse. So instead of saying int plus coin, what if it's coin plus int? So int plus coin. What happens here, you want to see if they're in reverse order. So if the left side of the plus sign is an integer, then I'm adding that. So it's 3 plus coin. Otherwise, I can have the format to have the coin plus an int, or a coin plus a coin. So the overload methods for reversed operands have the R in front of it: R add, R sub, R multiply. The special reverse operand functions are only called if the operands are different types and the left operand does not support the corresponding operation. So your goal is to define the retail item class. And the class has the description, price, and code, but you want to check for valid values for price and code. Price must be greater than 0, and code must be exactly 4 characters long. Your class should, with the provided code that creates a list of retail objects. I've included several invalid retail item objects here. Here, the code is more than 4 characters. Next, here, the price is invalid, is not a floating point. And here, this is invalid because it's not a positive number. Okay. All right, so when I run the code, what happens here is I create a list. And for each item in my original list here, I try to append that to my items. I evaluate this string here, and I try to create a new retail item object. If an exception is thrown, I will display the error. So it will display an error. Code must be greater than 4 characters in length. It's not supporting a string. It was expecting an int. And here, the invalid price, because it's not greater than 0. And the rest of them are valid. And I should be able to calculate the sum of those objects and display that. Here's my solution. What I have here is I have a setter and getter. I created a property. And for the setter, I check to see if value is greater than 0. I store the value. Otherwise, I say invalid price. I raise an exception, invalid price. Then next down here for the code, I want to check to make sure it's 4 characters exactly. If it's not, it says invalid code. Code must be 4 characters in length. And otherwise, I set the code, store the code. I define my less than, my reverse add and add together, and then I have my stir and repr methods defined. So less than would be price is less than the other price. Add allows me to add an integer to the price or a floating point to the price. And if it's an instance of a float here, it allows me to have my sum all work correctly. So if it's a float, it has the float object. Otherwise, it assumes it's an object and gets the price